just quickly want to tell you that little stitch is not a stitch, that's your join. So if you pull on that tail end, you will see it move. If you're wondering coming up to it, should I work in there or not, just pull on it. If it moves, you shouldn't. Also, it's a good plan to count your stitches on this round. So now to do the join, again, this is why I like to put my stitch marker. You can see even the stitch marker is leaning towards the back. Those two little loops you see there, that's the body of the single crochet. There, right at the back, there's a little V, the back and front loop that you want to join into. Now again, keeping your working yarn in your hand, or just make sure to have it below your hook when you reinsert. Pull up this loop slightly and remove it from your hook. Now, taking your stitch marker or your hook, really pull up those two loops. What this also does is it pulls your joining stitch into the line, so you really do not see it. So now insert your hook from the back towards the front, or like I do it, hook it from the back to the front under both loops. Make sure you pull that up nicely with your working yarn below your hook. Put your working loop back on your hook, pull it tight and pull it through to the back. Now, because we are continuing with the same color, you simply chain one. This chain one does not count as a stitch, it's simply to add some height to be able to begin our row. For round 2, we will start in the same stitch as the join. So right where that chain 1 is coming out, we'll do our single crochet right in there. There it is. And then the pattern says PM for BOR. That means place marker for beginning of round. This is a term used in knitting quite a bit, and I just think it makes life easier. So I've done my round 2 on my sleeve. Just to quickly clarify something, you will begin and end with a single crochet. That is not a mistake. Your beginning of your round will be on the one round. On round 2 is single crochet, as well as the end. Your beginning of your round 3s will be a chain 1. So for the linen, or otherwise known as moss stitch, you do single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet, repeat. Placing your single crochets in the chain 1 spaces between those single crochets. So for round 3, we will start with a chain 1. From here, we are working in a spiral, we're not joining. So chain 1. Then it says MM for BOR, which means move marker for beginning of round. There's our single crochet that we will be skipping, which was our beginning of our round. Now replace that marker, or move that marker to the chain 1. Skip that single crochet and single crochet in that first space. So this is our beginning of our round. And there's our second stitch, which is our first single. So I'm at the end of round 3, which started with a chain 1, skip 1, single crochet, and also ended with a chain 1 and skip 1. So here's my marked space, which is that chain 1, which was the beginning of the round. Now on each increase round, we will essentially move our marker 1 stitch. This is to keep our increase line straight and seamless. So there's our chain 1 space. Now for each increase round, what you will do is do a single chain 1, single, chain 1, and a single in that same space. And then placing your marker right in the chain. So to close this little gap on our first increase, you have a single crochet, chain one where you place your marker. This is now your new beginning of the round. All I like to do is just catch the top of that previous round's single crochet going into that chain space, but also into the top of that single crochet. I really just do it for this round to close that little gap. So there is my single, chain one, single, all in the same chain space, and my beginning of my round has moved one stitch. So at the end of this round you will have two more stitches, two additional stitches. So if you had 45, you will have 47. I had 51, so I will have 53, and so on and so forth. Now simply chain one and skip that next single crochet in the next space, and then you did your increase round. This is all the increase rounds from here on will be done in the same way. Towards the end of round 4 or increase round, I did my chain one, skip one, there we go. Single crochet in the next space, chain one, skip one, single, chain one, skip one, single. Now chain one, skip one. That last stitch that you will skip is the first stitch that you made, but you start counting from that chain. So there's my increase, and my new beginning of my round is the chain. So I just quickly want to make a note about the marker. I use my marker as my beginning of my round, so it will be either in a single crochet or in that chain space of the increase, or then in the chain that's the beginning of the round. So I take my tail end that I said I would use as a running stitch marker. I just pull it to the front and then to the back, front, back, on my increase rounds to make sure I know what row I'm on. It just makes counting easier. Here you can see on a sleeve that's finished, there's my running stitch marker that marks my increases. So there's an increase, next increase, there's my next one, next one. Now you don't have to do this, but I really do think it makes life easier. You've got a few options. Be creative. Use a piece of scrap yarn, use a running stitch mark like this, use stitch markers if you have enough. You can use bobby pins. All of them work well. So just to show you quickly, if here I ran out of my contrast color, so I would just mark one of those single crochets of the increase with a little piece of scrap yarn to keep track of where I'm at.